to Ugly Oysters. This video is one of a series of discussions based on Jordan Peterson's book Beyond Order. Today we look at Peterson's chapter called Do Not Allow Yourself to Become Resentful, Deceitful, or Arrogant, focusing on The Story is the Thing, which offers a literary approach for understanding conscious experience. Can it be possible that a material understanding of reality is insufficient to deal with evil? I have posted timestamps below if you wish to locate anything specific, and I do hope you enjoy the view while considering these important ideas. All set?
Okay.
So I'm going to take charge of this one.
Okay.
Okay.
How are you then?
Yeah, I'm doing good. And I'm happier all the time with how our channel is building. And I think we need to start talking to our audience a little more directly. So I'm going to say welcome to everyone. We're going to try something different today.
If our channel didn't get popular, this live, it may get popular after we,
Yeah, maybe.
We always say after we see Karl Marx, then our channel gonna be whatever.
After we see Karl Marx?
Yeah.
I see.
We will never see we go to heaven or something.
I see. After we see Karl Marx.
We're gonna see Karl Marx.
Ah, so that's the Chinese way. Well, I do, right now we don't have a large audience, but in time, hopefully, there will be people. But the thing is, every video we make, I think we're improving the presentation quality. And today, I think what I would like us to do is try something slightly different, which is maybe we don't do the whole chapter all at once. Our last video was an hour and 20 minutes. And this chapter is a very big chapter, and I also think there's some really good stuff in here. And
almost a summary.
Pardon?
It's almost like a summary of the book. Like even Peterson himself, he said, chapter 11, it's like a summary of my book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he recommended his book, though. I
see. So you've heard him talking?
Yeah, talking to some people.
I see. Well, that's good. I really like this chapter, actually. Maybe I don't like all of it. I don't know. I still have to reflect on a lot of it. But the beginning of the chapter, I really like a lot. And so for today, so the chapter is Rule 11, and the rule is do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. But I would like to just focus on one thing, which is the first section. And the first section is called The Story is the Thing. Yeah. So my suggestion is, again, I will summarize it, just the section. But I also think I invite you to interrupt me at any point in time if you have any thoughts. I think that would be better because it's more of our natural conversational style anyway. Yeah, so how about we try that? You good with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the first thing he wants to do, I think, is he takes these concepts of resentment, deceit, and arrogance, and he basically equates those three things with evil. He says, I want you to know how to resist becoming this way, to resist degenerating into evil. So when he says do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant, basically he's saying don't allow yourself to become evil. And his question is, how can we do that? How can we resist becoming evil? And so he begins his response by saying that we have to just rethink a little bit our premise about what the world is made of. If we're going to fight this evil, we have to change our premise. Because evil is not a material issue. And so we need to change our concept of the world. And so he asks the question, what is the world made of? And he asks the reader, you think about it, what is the world made of? And I know that the typical school reply is going to be, well, it's made of matter and energy. And he's saying that's not a sufficient concept for dealing with resentment, deceit, and arrogance. You're not going to be able to manage those things if that's your concept of the world. So he proposes that we think about it in a different way. And he says, just imagine you wake up in the morning. If you were asked at that moment, what do you perceive in the morning? You might say, well, I see the bed, I see the lamp, I see the door to the bathroom, or whatever it is that you see. And the desk, the chairs. And he says, but actually, that's not really the first thing you perceive when you wake up. You already know all those things. You're not actually paying attention to them. Probably instead, you're perceiving things psychologically, like, what am I going to do at work today? How am I going to deal with this relationship issue? The things you first perceive are psychological realities, not these material realities. Yeah. So the first point he's trying to make is that when your consciousness wakens into the world, it doesn't follow the rules of simple logic. And if we're going to deal with these issues of resentment, deceit, and arrogance, we have to get out of the cause and effect, material cause and effect patterns of thinking. And one of the first things he points out is that with the material world, two things can't exist at the same time. Like, that's something I demonstrate in a classroom when I'm teaching science. I say that matter takes up space and it has mass. And I ask the students, what does that mean? And I demonstrate by taking a cup or a pencil sharpener or something, and I just show, if the pencil sharpener's here, the cup can't also be here at the same time. That's like a material reality. But if you start thinking in terms of psychological or spiritual reality, it's not that way. Things can exist at the same time. And what he wants to start doing is reframing reality as a narrative reality. Instead of being a material universe, start thinking about the universe in a narrative way. And I really like his approach to this. Why? When I was doing my dissertation, this is how I distinguished conscious reality from material reality. In material reality, the fundamental base is mathematics. Everything is structured mathematically in the material world. But in the conscious world, everything is structured as a narrative. Same thing. You can't escape it. Everything is narrative based. So he says when you wake up in the morning, actually you're projecting into the future, and the future holds possibility. And possibility is waiting there to be encountered. And in that future, there's two possibilities, good and evil. They both exist at the same time. And when I thought about this, I thought, okay, what's an example of this? Because I agree with him. I think this is the way the future is. There was a time in my life when I quit a job that I was in, and the way I quit, my employer accused me of breaking a contract. Now, because I'm working internationally, if my employer puts on my name contract breaker, I'm in big trouble. I'm not going to be able to get another job. No one will hire a contract breaker, especially in the international world. It's a big deal. Because if people break contracts all the time, they can't manage their schools. So my future held this negative possibility. But it's possible, too, that they were wrong. And that I was right. And that if I fight them, I should get a reward for that fight. So the future held two possibilities at a time. I hired a lawyer, and I made a legal challenge against my employer. So I had two names hovering over me. One name was betrayer and bad guy, and the other name over me was hero and winner against the oppressive employer. And both of those things were possible at the same time. And I think this is what Peterson is talking about. He's saying the future holds these possibilities in front of us, both evil and good, and that is a psychological reality. And he also said, actually, we don't fight with the present. Our fight is always with the future, and that we have to be future-oriented in the way we think about our lives. And I think that's interesting. He kind of confronts the people who, the ancient wisdom that says, live in the moment. And he says, but that's not the most fundamental reality that people face. The most fundamental reality is not this moment now. The most fundamental reality is the future. That's going to shape your life more. And I think he says possibility is the most real thing in our lives. And I think he's the first person who's actually got me to think, oh yeah, it's one thing to live in the moment and enjoy the moment, but you always have to be anticipating the next corner. And it's a kind of a philosophy of action. And I've never really had that. I've acted that way, sued my employer. That's a philosophy. That's an action. That's challenging the future, which could have had a very negative outcome. But he kind of gives a philosophy of it, and I think for the first time I'm kind of convinced. But I also believe live in the moment is important too. Otherwise, maybe we never have any pleasure in life because we're always living for tomorrow. So then he says, if the future is the most real thing we can face, how is it possible to understand the future? How is it possible to investigate it so that we can manage it in a wise way? And he said, as far as he can tell, the best way is through the use of stories. And I also love him for bringing this up, because basically we live in a world that has separated science, fact from fiction, very clearly. We've made a distinction between these two, and we've made science superior and the arts or the humanities are inferior. And I think this is a bad decision. I think it's only equipped us to live materially, and it hasn't equipped us to live consciously. And the humanities, I'm making a broader category, the humanities teach us to live consciously. And he's bringing this in. He's saying you'll never be able to deal with these things, resentment, deceit, and arrogance, unless you learn to live in a storied world. And that's a different reality. And so then he goes about explaining that. And I investigated this. I wanted to see where he's getting this information from. And there was a guy, his name is Jerome Bruner. And he wrote he wrote a book called Actual Minds, Possible Worlds. And I think Jerome Bruner, who's an educational theorist from Harvard, I think he laid out this basic idea that Peterson's trying to lay out. Peterson's just reframing it for his book. But there is a kind of a theoretical base that this all comes out of. And the theoretical base is that our minds operate on different levels. On one level, we're very evidence-based. On another level, we're very logical-based. On another level, we're very narrative-based. And so it's a reality that we're equipped to understand, but we just haven't been trained very well to realize that story, narrative, is a way of understanding the world and acting wisely on that basis. And Peterson's saying we need to do that. And so when you do that, you begin to realize, okay, there's always a setting to every story. We have to understand what the setting is, what is the context. You know, you can spend half your life denying that you're born in a certain country, born to a certain family, born to certain conditions, and just not want to accept them. And if you realize that part of living well is learning to accept the setting, the context that you're born into. I mean, that's a major step to living sensibly, is just recognizing these are the conditions. These are the cards I've been dealt, you know? Now how do I deal with them? Also, you realize that there's certain characters in your story. Also, every person, he didn't say this, I'm adding this, every person is the hero of their own story. You have to see yourself as a hero fighting a struggle. What's the struggle? Well, every story has a conflict. And the conflict is either with the characters around you, or it's with maybe the nature, the animals are like characters, or whatever. But there's some drama that's taking place. There always is. There's always a drama. And you want to be the hero, and you have to realize that this is going to require risk, and it's going to require adventure. And actually, that's what makes a good story. It makes life worth living to have an adventure. You know? It's not just life in the machine world. Queen sings a song that I think the song is called Machine World, and it's quite a pessimistic view of just, basically they sort of argue that no matter what the machines do, there's still going to be rock and roll. But rock and roll, that what they mean is they're human. They've got their passions and their desires and so on.
Yeah.
Peterson also makes the point, when you go to bed at night with your children, say, they don't ask you to recite the, what do you call that, the science table, the periodic table. They don't say, Dad, can you tell us about the periodic table one more time? I just love hearing about helium and all the other elements. These things are important for...
Maybe Elon Musk will ask for that.
Pardon?
Maybe Elon Musk will ask for that.
Maybe. But typically, children want to hear another story of some monster or some prince or princess or whatever. They want to hear that drama. And that desire is so deep inside of us. It's just another piece of evidence that story is a basic structure of life. And we actually hunger for it as much as we live it. The other thing he says is that a good story has multiple levels of meaning. And he says once you understand that the world is structured this way, then you're prepared to meet some of the essential characters that you will meet in this world. And then you will be prepared to deal with these issues of resentment, arrogance, and deceit. So, this is the preliminary introduction. There's no need to try to deal with these matters unless you accept the fundamental storied nature of life. Not in terms of space-time, not in terms of atoms and molecular structure, but in terms of story. There's no material base to understanding these things. And I think that's as good an argument you can make for the conscious spiritual world. You can't fight spiritual issues with material solutions. Yeah. So that's his foundation before proceeding on this chapter. Did you have any reactions? Seems not.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to give the summary.
Okay, well, I'm done.
Yeah. So you say you in charge of this, so do you have any question for me?
Well, is there anything about that introduction that provokes your own thoughts? Like, is there anything that it stimulates? Do you find it agreeable, or is it disagreeable, or Yeah.
Not that much, but I just felt long ago I read this book called Leap Over the Wall from Eugene Peterson. And the first chapter is he is talking about story, like how important a story should be. And he also said when he saw the kids go out of a trip, they all stuck with all their device, not go with the people. And also some kid laugh at his bald head. He felt angry, it's kind of like you put the emphasis on the wrong side. So all of this, I think he is conveying something that life has a structure. Life has character, life has meaning, and that's what story gonna convey to us. And if you not pay attention to, you only pay attention to the structure without people, you only pay attention to theory instead of a feeling, and you miss the point. So this I felt this Jordan Peterson, I hope I don't know if they are kind of a relative or something. They convey the same thing, about how important a story. So what story is? I think a story is just a life. Story is something you kind of have fresh, have blood, have feeling. Otherwise, you would not call it a story. You would just call a presentation or essay or something, right? So that's why it's different from an essay. It's we Chinese say it's half fresh, half blood. That means it's a vivid. It's kind of totally different as structure, as theory, as ideology. It's vivid. So this, what I get from Jordan Peterson is I'm so surprised because him to me kind of more like a person interested in ideology instead of a vivid flesh and blood. But no, he think story is important. Vivid is important. Flesh and blood is important. So I think of this make me feel interesting,
Yeah. I really, yeah.
Yeah. I also remind me of a very famous IT guy, actually. He built up a big company about a game, a game company, actually, computer game. And somehow he became the number one in China's market at that time. But you know what hobby is when people interview him, ask, what's your hobby? And he said, oh, I love read a story. So at that time, people got amazed because they think, oh, how can people who love story and make this all of computer games, But then you see why his game attract people. Because in his game, there is people there, there is characters there. His hero is just not like a killing machine. His character, his people inside of the game has a character. So that's why the computer game, attract people. So what he attract people after all? It's story. It's the storytelling skill of his computer game. So I think we are human beings. We never can get rid of this desire for a story. So I think both Eugene Peterson and Jordan Peterson, they point out the same thing. And Jesus tells stories. Jesus never tells theory. So that's what I feel.
Yeah, that's also interesting. So we have the two Petersons, Eugene and Jordan. I really admire or appreciate this. I mean, when I read this part of the book, my heart just starts. I just feel a big yes inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I criticize Peterson almost regularly, almost every chapter, that he's not really going into the chaos world. He's and I've heard other people critique him and say his one foot is planted firmly in order and he's just sticking his toe in chaos. He's not really practicing what he says about balancing order and chaos. But
because do you mind I say one word?
Sure.
Because I just saw his interview with someone yesterday, and he said to him, he said he thinks the biblical story is also from the beginning telling you God make order from chaos. That's why when at the first the world is like a formless, then God make the world, the order out of the formless chaos. You know, so then that's why order is more honored for him. So chaos, I think for Peterson, it's just a chaos. You know, you need to confront the chaos. It's not just like artist view say you love the chaos. I think there is distinguish there between Peterson and artist. Artists they may find resource, they may find energy, they may love the chaos, like this guy on the Van Gogh, yeah. So they find energy, they find the beauty even in chaos. But I think in Jordan's mind, he think from the beginning, God built out order from chaos. So that's what his meaning, you know. So that's why have this, you know, you think he just step on one foot into chaos, then maybe quickly come take back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, I understand. The problem is, I think he contradicts himself, because on one hand, he says the ideal life is lived right on the edge between order and chaos. But then he'll say, but actually I'm a scientist and I stand on the side of science and I just reach out a little bit onto the chaos world. But anyway, I don't blame him. I love him, okay? But now, when he's talking about story, now I think he's talking more about the chaos life, because he's talking about moving into the future, into the unknown. And the unknown has all the possibilities of good and evil. And I love that he's articulating this. I think he's giving power to my own thinking. And he's helping me grow. Because, oh, excuse me. So I was saying, sorry folks, there's probably a break in the video because I got interrupted with a phone call. So what I love about Peterson is he's taking us into that. To me, the future is chaos. The future is still unformed. Like, nothing's happened. Tomorrow could be utter disaster. A meteor could hit the planet, or a fire. Our apartment might go on fire, or who knows? You know, you don't know what. Like, my son, he was talking to me last night about some troubles at school. I mean, it's his first day at school. Well, it's the first day at this school, so he's a new kid. Well, the future for him, just like Peterson talks about, I don't know where he talks about it in the book, but he talks about how there's a dragon. I think we're going to come up to this. There's a dragon there waiting, and you got to face that dragon, but you defeat that dragon, there's also treasure there. And who knows, maybe there's treasure waiting there and the dragon's gone out to go catch some meat, so you just sneak in and take the treasure without the dragon looking. But basically the future has good and evil waiting for you. And you gotta launch into that. So to me, when he articulates the narrative structure of life, he's articulating the hero's journey And do you remember the name of that guy who talks about the hero's journey?
Pinocchio.
Not Pinocchio.
You mean that 10,000 Faces
Yeah.
of Hero?
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
Okay, well, I'm gonna find it out and I'll put it on the video and I'll put notes down below. But anyway, the hero's journey is sort of the basic mythology of life. And everyone, you can't escape it. Tomorrow has the possibility of good or evil. And the Old Testament, there's a verse in the Old Testament too that says, choose you this day which you're going to follow, good or evil. And there's never any security there, only faith. All you have is faith and your vision. Whatever that might be. Maybe you feel a calling to do something, or maybe you just have an idea of a good that you want to accomplish. And you risk. And that's entering the world of chaos. And here I think Peterson is totally on point. Totally, I'm with him. This is the world I live in, and I'm glad to have a little bit of theory to support it. Actually, I have taken action in the face of danger several times in my life. I didn't have a theory to support it. The theory I had is the one that he's talking about, the advice of the sages. Be here now. Accept the present moment awareness, you know? And I don't think that gave me a strong philosophy of action. It gave me a strong philosophy of inaction. But Peterson, with this idea that the future is more real, gives me a philosophy for action, to actually do something about the future. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
I appreciate that. I don't know that I agree with him that it's more real, but it is at least as real as the present. To me, I think...
He always set a goal there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like in the real world.
Yeah.
Not just in your thinking, he said. Not just in your thinking, go action.
Yeah. And I think this is the first time that Peterson's really made a breakthrough with me. Because he's built something on a philosophy I already hold, which is that there's the objective world, science, material, managing yourself well, having skills, all that. And then there's the conscious world. And I've kind of rejected the science world because the science world rejected the conscious world. And I want to fight and say, no, there's consciousness. You have to acknowledge it. But Peterson holds both. And I'm trying to hold both now too. And he just gives me just a little bit more of an understanding. Oh yeah, the future has a challenge there. That's the world of consciousness. And I can't escape the element of risk that's built into that. That is reality. Reality has risk. When I was raised as a child, there was very little of this understanding of consciousness. It was all about material reality. And material reality is about knowing and understanding the material world and then controlling it. You don't want risk. You want efficiency. You want capability. You don't want uncertainty. That's material thinking. But to balance those two, to live a conscious and material life, well, then you recognize that there's risks and you need to boldly venture forward, not just be a gear in the machine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I love him for this.
Mm.
I think he's giving me more power. Until
Mm-hmm.
now, I've acted sort of boldly, but I felt like I was a bad guy doing it. I felt like somehow I was betraying, say, my parents who've worked so hard to give me this secure life.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
want to say to them, you can't have security. It's not that way. Life's not that way. But I didn't have this kind of theory to support it. I just know it's not right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now I have the theory. Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow has
Mm-hmm.
dragon and treasure, and you just gotta go for it.
Oh yeah, yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Seems like this hero road. It's like in every movie, in every literature. It's
Yeah.
kind of a, it's kind of a, you need like a, like he used an example so funny. He said, when you graduate from the school, you kind of on the top of the mountain. Then the next day you're gonna start to surfing in Starbucks for 5 years.
Yes. Right.
You need to think about it, man.
Yeah.
So I just felt this is so interesting, you know, and but still, I felt it's the chaos, yeah, people don't dare to face, because after you recognize it, if you want to act, then you will encounter the chaos.
Yeah.
That I think that when people most afraid of.
Yeah. But that's what tomorrow is. Tomorrow
But
is
if you
chaos.
going through the chaos, I
Part-
never see anyone is successful now. Like they without experience any chaos. I never see anyone this way.
right.
Seems the more chaos they experience, the bigger game they're gonna play.
Yeah.
I always saw this kind of, it's kind of a spiritual, you know, circle around. Seems they go up and up by defeating more and more problems, by coming to bigger and bigger chaos.
Yeah.
So it's kind of relate to our Chinese saying. They will say if the heaven gonna give you the big task, they're gonna make you hungry, they make you exhausted, they make you mind like a restless and crazy, and they make you everything you want to achieve failed, and then they will create the capability for you which you don't have before. So that's what chaos for. So
Yeah.
they just make you much better. So if you have this kind of a worldview, then you will not be so scared about something that you can't control, right? Chaos is something out of your control. So then you were gonna have adventure spirit to that unknown. Then finally you build up this hero spirit inside of you. Then you're gonna go surfing, you know?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
cool.
I think so.
Mm.
Can you say what the phrase is that the Chinese say? Just say it in Chinese.
天将降大任于斯人也，必先苦其心志，劳其筋骨，饿其体肤，空乏其身，行拂乱其所为，所以正心忍性，真义其所不能。
All I caught was deng xing ren xing.
So you see, I can still recite it. It's in our every Chinese mind. It's something we're gonna recite when we're little.
So that's the Chinese version of the hero's journey.
Yeah, yeah.
Lots of
True.
suffering, lots of hunger.
Yeah.
And
You're gonna experience it.
yeah, and that just makes you stronger to
like if you fail it, so you never can be a hero.
Sorry?
Some people maybe just along the experience, along the journey, they felt it, so then they never can be achieved a hero.
What's that mean? What
Some
is
people,
yeah? What
they
is
can't going through with all the suffering. Maybe they just quit.
I
Maybe
see.
they don't want it.
Yeah.
So they can like finish this hero journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if people choose the safety way, they're actually choosing not to live. And they're going to regret their lives. I think
so.
too much safety, too much security. It's like the one who, Jesus talked about one person was given 1 coin, another person 5 coins, and another person 10 coins. And then a year later, the master called them and said to the one with the 10 coins, "What did you do?" And he said, "I invested it in this, and now I've got double." And he said, "Good job." And same thing with the 5 coins one. But the 1 coin person said, "I know you're a hard master, so I buried the coin to preserve it. And now I bring the coin back to you." And he said, "You fool, and I'm going to give your coin to someone else."
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
So we should not waste our own talents, our own energy, which given by God.
Yeah.
So we should kind of pursue what we're going to want to pursue.
Yeah.
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 Have a hero spirit.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's the first section?
Yeah, just the first section. So this will be a little bit shorter. It's possible that I will link all these sections into one long video as well, but I'm also going to post each section by section.
Okay.
So that's it for today.
Many left?
Oh, let's see. So then the next section, he calls it the eternal characters of the human drama. It's a big section divided up into subsections.
I see.
So he wants to talk about who are the characters of this drama. So one is the dragon Chaos, one is nature, one is... I might as well just say what these are. I mean, he goes for... One is culture, so you got nature, culture, chaos, nature, culture, and the individual. These are the main characters of the human drama. So we started by saying, or Peterson started by saying, life has a consciousness has a storied structure to it. Then he says we need to get to know the characters, and the characters are chaos, nature, social society, and the individual. Then he'll talk about deceit and arrogance.
Yeah, okay. So all of these things you're talking is in one section. That's section 2, right?
Yeah, section 2 is the characters.
Okay, so what you said just now is section 3?
Section 3 is when you get to deceit and arrogance.
Okay, section 4 is?
Section 4... let's see. By the way, section 3 also has 2 sections, which is commissions and omissions.
How many? I just want this number. How many sections total?
5. But 4 and 5 are quite short.
So gonna put together you?
I think let's just see how long. Let's just see. I think section 2, maybe we just look at all the characters all at once.
Okay.
That'll be a long section 2.
Okay. Sure.
And then maybe we'll do another section of all the remaining stuff.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you for today.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too. See you.
Enjoy your sunshine.
I will. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
That's it for today. Come back and check out some of our other videos. Please put your comments below, hit like and subscribe with notifications if you wish to join in conversations with us on other topics.